All right, welcome back to Tea and Stuff. Today I have a special guest, another Canadian buddy. This is Phil Holmes from World Tea House. Why don't you explain a bit about your shop, and we'll also get a nice little tour from you. So, where's your shop? What's your shop? And let's see it.
Cool. Yeah. So Little Tea House located in Halifax, Nova Scotia. Halifax, for people who don't know Canadian geography very well, is on the east coast, kind of the utmost east coast, right above Maine. Essentially, we have a ferry that actually goes from our province into Bar Harbor. So, yeah, that's where we're located. Halifax is the city of Nova Scotia, the main city, and I am smack dab downtown. If you Google Halifax, your little tag is basically right on my tea shop. So we're like as central as you can possibly get.
That.
Yeah, and we just sell tea, and I import stuff from about 20 countries, and yeah, it's doing what we do.
You've done some. You do not only do you do like the loose leaf tea, but you also specialize sometimes with iced drinks, whether it be cold brew or you always have some special that you're cooking up that I see that you're promoting on social media that sounds so good.
Yeah, yeah, we have a pretty big front. It's raining out now, so I'm not sure if we'll go outside for a boo, but we might. And pretty big patio area out front with usually in the summer we have a full 20-person patio set up there. So we do a lot of ice drinks. We like to call them mocktails. So we do like a lot of fruit infusions. We shake it with cocktail shakers. We just kind of make it fun. We're on a bar street. We don't serve alcohol, so I like to kind of make fun of that a little bit and kind of being like, you can enjoy the bar experience but be sober and maybe a little bit tea drunk at the same time, and it's really nice to be able to do that kind of thing.
I can imagine a lot of people appreciate that, because not everybody, like I don't drink. I left the drinking scene years ago, so this is the town I live in is a town that really doesn't have a lot of things to do if you don't drink. So
yeah,
for that to not only for you obviously to be a place that doesn't serve alcohol, but it's cool that you're in an area that does. Like, yeah. There's got to be some interesting crossover that happens there.
Absolutely. We do a lot of collaborations with other bars too, like a lot of cocktail bars and stuff like that. I'm a little bit of a foodie and a creator as well, so I like to help recipe development for other people. I often will make things in here, and I'll be like, "This would be great with gin. Why don't you do that?" And because I'm not going to do that, so.
I love doing that. Like, people are like, "Oh, have you ever, do you do infused alcohols?" And I'll be like, "No, but if you're interested in it,
yeah,
here's some pointers."
It goes really good with this. So yeah, we're also in a lot of restaurants and cafes and stuff like that as tea on their menus locally as well. Being a tea blender, I can like make kind of custom recipes for people. So if they want like a traditional breakfast blend with a little bit of like citrus or a little bit of rose or a little bit of whatever, I can like just tweak it with them and make their own kind of unique thing. A lot of people really like that, and there's no order minimum, so they can they can do 100 grams of it if they want to. Like, I don't care. I just like to be involved. Be one of the cool kids.
So I originally met you in Toronto, but yeah. I mean, I think we were familiar with each other on social media prior to that.
I would say, yeah.
But it always helps really solidify relationships with people when you get to meet them in person. And it was such a pleasure to be
Absolutely.
able to spend time with you in Toronto and even be able to see you after hours for a little bit for tea. That's
I still dream about that Japanese white tea. That's amazing.
I dream of just being in Toronto with lots of good people. I'm telling you, I miss Canada so much.
Yeah, we miss people coming here. It's been weird.
Dude, it's really tough.
We're very much a cruise ship tourist town in Halifax. We haven't had any kind of very little outside tourism besides Canadian tourism in 2 years, and it's just been weird. Not too effective for me personally because I'm not a tourist spot. I'm more of a local or a tea geek spot where people will seek me out that are in that kind of want that quality loose leaf tea, but it's still weird. Even like walking down the streets and stuff, it's not as busy.
I was talking with a friend visiting from New York City yesterday, and I was asking them about how the city was looking, and they said that tourism is like on the boom there. Like,
yeah,
the streets are back to being shoulder to shoulder and stuff like that, which is good in the fact that, you know, the city needs income, it needs traffic. But on the other end, you look at it and you go, well, you know, hopefully this ends well.
Yeah. I mean, with us, we still have like a lot of regulations when it comes to entering in businesses. We're a masked business, so you can't come in here without a mask.
I was gonna crack a.
If you're sitting down at the table, you need proof of vaccine. If you take your mask off.
I was gonna crack a joke when we first started, but I figured I'd wait until we just kind of organically got into it. But I was gonna make a joke about getting into your shop without a mask. So
that's a sore topic right now.
Oh, I know, and I won't. Don't worry, we're not going to explore it to any like extreme detail. But just to suffice it to say that you have your local government obviously makes their own decisions about what guidelines that they want to put in place, and then they tell you as business owners. They say, okay, well, you know, this is the situation, and here's our list X, Y, and Z. And you know,
here's the fines if you don't do it.
Right, and that's what I'm saying is that so even if say you're like phooey, like I don't believe in that, that's stupid. You as a business then can face like it's pretty heavy. I mean, I'd have to assume the fines aren't super light.
$7,500 per infraction.
Wow.
Yeah, so our personal infractions here for a person coming in is $2,000.
Wow.
So it's heavy. It's heavy. And they did that. They went very heavy-handed because it was originally $1,000 and I think $4,500 for businesses, and then they were like, people were kind of being a little bit non-compliant.
Yeah,
I guess we say. And then they're like, all right, well, let's double that. Oh God.
And so
people fell in line pretty quick.
Yeah. Well, and as you as a business owner, like I can completely understand how you're like, well, even if I don't necessarily fully agree with it, you have to do it. So you'd hope, I guess, that the you wouldn't get much pushback, and it's not like you got a ton, but you did get you know, a few that did not agree with your decision to uphold the laws and everything, and so you were met with that. But I will say, as being a person that, you know, as a friend of yours, I was watching it unfold, and I have to give you like true tip of the hat credit to how your attitude remained through the criticism. And I mean, your attitude during it and after it were the same, and B, just completely rational. And I was, you know, I reached out obviously just to be like, hey man, I, you know, hope this, you know, it's just sending good vibes your way. And I was just so kindly met with your regular you.
Yeah.
So,
well, it's funny because we got a little bit of media attention from it because we were kind of like, I don't know, occupied is, I guess, a good word for in our front area by anti-maskers, vaxxers, proof of vaccinators, whatever you want to call them. I call the anti-people. They're very angry people, and we got a little bit of local media attention out of it. And so the spotlight was on me, so we decided to do these tea parties where we would raise money for a shelter. My whole thing was that people are complaining about their freedoms being infringed upon and all this stuff, but at the same time, we have a serious unhoused problem in Halifax right now. Our rents are going insane, so more and more people are becoming homeless and unhoused. And these people are protesting out here, and they're going home with fed bellies and a warm place to live. And I'm like, our fundamental freedoms are housing, food, you know, all these things, and so I just spun it, and I was like, okay, well, we're gonna have the spotlight here. We're gonna raise thousands of dollars for a local charity and shelter, and we did.
Good for you.
So I kind of took the negative and put a positive spin on it. And by doing that, they kind of left me alone because I think I made them look like such jerks that they were like, "Oh man, wow."
Well, I think the
Kill 'em with
unfortunate
kindness.
part.
That's what I say.
Well, right, and you did the right thing like, um, it was just such a weird like you're because of what you had to do or what you chose to do. That was automatically labeled as your extreme. You were on that. You were completely on the 180 opposite, and you're just more so like, hey man, I'm just a business trying to keep doing what I'm doing and not get
Yeah,
fined.
yeah, exactly. We're just
Like
doing our
I don't
thing.
like they. It's almost like a lot of those people I feel took it like you were trying to almost like you were trying to offend them, and it's like I don't want to do. If you think that if that's what I guess I explained to people is I was like, if you think that Phil wanted to be out there or wanted to be guarding a door, and you're
Yeah,
out of your mind.
yeah, yeah. I'm not a bouncer.
No, no,
Like Friday nights are my night that I go home and spend with my family and my dogs and or maybe go out with friends. And I'm like, I don't want to spend my Friday nights. Yeah, sometimes I like to spend them at the shop. Absolutely, this is my second home. But at the same time, I'm like, I don't want to sit outside my shop in the freezing cold, denying entry to people that refuse to put a piece of cloth on their face. Like it's
yeah,
such a little thing. When I show you the walk around, you'll see what little space it is. It literally we time somebody to come in the front door to order a drink, to pay for it, and then go outside. It was less than a minute. You could hold your breath for that. You could put a piece of cloth on your face, hold your breath, order your thing. I don't know how you would do that with talking and holding your breath, but I think you could probably manage. And then go outside and we'd serve you on the patio. Like it's such a little thing. And we were doing outside service for people that didn't want to wear masks. It was just, it's
I
ridiculous.
I think at that point it's not about the mask. It has that's what
Yeah,
the
exactly.
people around here that didn't want to wear a mask, they would give you a reason as to why they didn't need or want to wear a mask, but really it's just because they felt that they were being forced to do something that for some reason they weren't sure they were behind, and because they felt this intrusion, it just they had to go just so radically against it. And it's
Yeah,
like I get that as an initial response, but you'd hope that eventually like I said, even if you do think it's bullshit, dude, you're like in your shop's situation specifically. Say
yeah.
you're just going in to get a drink. I'm gonna be in there for even if it's busy, a couple like what? How would you say? Like
Yeah,
really?
a minute or two. Like, I mean, even if you have to wait, like even if you want your tea to steep here and you want to wait that 4 minutes for like a black tea to steep or whatever, it's still under 5. Like, you're not you're not sitting here. You're not like me. I have my mask on sometimes 8, 12 hours a day. Like, yeah.
Yeah,
But I mean, there's lots of people that wear masks for their professions, doctors, all these things. They just wear masks. It's fine. It's what you
yeah.
do.
It's it,
Anyhow,
yeah.
on
So
to tea.
that's that. What are you enjoying?
I'm enjoying a hojicha. This is going to be on our menu next. This is from a cool little farm in where's the camera part? We
Oh,
like roasty toasty,
ooh.
little green matter in there. This is from a place there outside of Shizuoka. I went there in 2019 in the early year before kind of harvest season started and met him. Uh, Kimomi-san, I think is his name. I wrote it down here and I can't even pronounce it properly. Anyhow, he speaks very little Japanese and English. I speak even littler, less Japanese. So it was very comical with us using Google Translate. And my friend Shitose, who is based out of Tokyo, she helped facilitate us getting tea to me, despite like basically being our translator through a 3-way Facebook conversation. It was great. Anyhow, he's
That
fantastic gentleman. His craft is amazing, and he's one of these farmers that doesn't really adhere to Like if he's making a kabuse, a shaded sencha, and
Hmm.
kabuses is supposed to be shaded X amount of time, 3 weeks or whatever. He's like, I shade my tea to what they need. He's like, I don't care what the regulations are. If my plants need that, that's what I'm gonna do, and it's gonna taste great. And so he makes these like basically competition grade teas, and he doesn't adhere to any of these kind of uh,
Oh,
modern practices. He's like, we've been doing this in my family for hundreds and hundreds of years. He's like, we've got this. So
that's. I mean, I understand that their tea business and the culture was built up a very certain way,
yeah,
but I mean, and I'm not saying that that way is wrong, or that it should stop. Like, I think that having a nice standardized system that works is a good thing. Um, but
absolutely,
I
absolutely.
can't tell you how tickled it makes me to hear somebody else who has a producer that has that same, like our Japanese producer obviously steps outside the box,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
just
Well,
like
makes white tea.
so it's yeah, so it's like so, but it blows my mind that more producers aren't experimenting more, or at least
We're getting
willing
there.
to
We're getting there.
export it.
Yeah, yeah. More and more, more and more. It's becoming like companies like you and me that want these kind of either traditional or very like unique experiences and stories behind them. Absolutely adore that. So I think more and more, especially the smaller producers, are really going out of the box. The big guys that are producing metric tons, they're not going to. This guy producing 10 kilos for me was very excited to do that.
Oh yeah,
He's not doing thousands. He's not doing a container. He's basically it's in a little FedEx box, right?
I get contacted sometimes by people that are like, "Oh, do you do wholesale?" And it's a lot of the time it's specifically Benefuki White, and
I was
uh,
probably one of those.
I've had to. Oh no, business to business would be, I'd have to look at how much was made, but it'd be, you know what I mean, like business to business. Anyways, um,
You don't want to short yourself. Yeah.
they this past 2 years, only 1 kilogram of each was made at all,
Hmm.
like in entirety. Not even
Yeah.
it just came to me. Like that's it. So sometimes people are like, "Can I get?" And I'm like, or they'll ask like, "Oh, can I get more than what you offer of Benefuki White?" And I'll be like, "Well, how much are you looking for?" They'll be like, "Oh, 5 kilograms if the price is right." And I'm like, "Well, A, it's a pretty rare tea, and B, I was like, not even that much gets produced at
Yeah.
all, like
Yeah.
within a year." I just tell the producer that I want it, and to make it with whatever they can, and whatever they make, I
Yeah.
buy,
Yeah.
and
The true
whatever they make,
definition of
I'm
a rare tea, as
yeah.
opposed to something like Daikwan Yin that someone's like, that's a rare tea. It's like, that's really not.
Like I just
you know,
allow him to do it at the
it's
capacity
subjective,
he's
right?
comfortable with.
Rarity.
Yeah, yeah, and it's like I don't want the producer to push for maximizing it. Like I like it because of almost the master the challenge of mastery that my producer saw with the white tea.
Right.
Oh, it
Cool.
was they just sort of like they don't like it at all. They think it's light. They don't understand
Yeah.
why I
It's
enjoy it so much.
yeah. Yeah. I've had that to some Japanese teas. They're like, well, why do you like this so much? I'm like, it's just different palates, right? Different
Yep.
cultures, different because they're looking for the really like mind blowing umami, grassy. They want flavor punches, and I'm like, no, subtlety's great.
Oh,
I don't need
you and
my
I
head to
used to
turn back
I used to
when,
think I
I
was
drink
so
this.
alone with that. I used to think that I was the only person who liked sweet, subtle Japanese green teas. And the more I've been
Yeah.
voicing it over the past year, I can't believe how many people are in our boat. Like, and it's not that umami's
Yeah.
bad, but just when it comes to green tea
No, I
personally,
love it.
yeah, I just don't
Yeah.
want to be kicked in the jaw with it, like overwhelmed by it.
Yeah. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I want a good face punch. But other times, if I'm sitting down and I'm just like chilling out on a podcast or video, I don't know what we call this, video cast. I don't even know. Um,
Whatever word you put to it, it's good being that.
conversation. And
Mhm.
so yeah, sometimes I just want something that's easy drinking and light and interesting, and it just depends on I'm a very moody tea drinker. People say, "What's your favorite tea?" It's like, what mood am I in? What season is it? What's usually I gravitate towards Indian black teas. Lately, I've been going towards Japanese, mostly because that's where my studies have been taking me lately. And hopefully, knock on wood, April we'll be doing a month in Japan in the southern region. So going through all the islands and
April.
basing ourselves out of Kyoto, but just basically just exploring. Um,
I think you're the first. If you do make that, I think you'll be one of the first people that I know that have traveled to Source since pandemic.
yeah, yeah,
My
it's waiting, right? We're just like, I don't know. Canada has weird traveling laws, so it's not even the fact that even Japan has weird. I mean, I'm talking back and forth to Japanese producers and friends all the time. So I'm like, what's the lay of the land? They're like, I don't know. It's on random. I'm like, yeah, same here.
Yeah, like well I just realized that because I did the Johnson and Johnson vaccine that I obviously would have troubles going into Canada at all
That's
even
right.
right now. And
Y'all gonna need an mRNA booster.
I was like crap.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
so
Stick
I
it in
it's
you.
I wasn't like I don't want I don't want foreign things in my body. Like, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah,
I'm not the first person to be like, "Hey, jab me with whatever." But
yeah,
like I just wait until it's applicable enough for me and I have a firm reason to take it upon myself to do it and then I do
yeah.
it.
Yeah, me
And
too. My
and
vaccination list is insanely long, but going to Africa and all these places, you
it,
gotta have like all these vaccines. Like I have a vaccine person in our public health department that has my chart, and I call them up every year. It's like, okay, I'm planning on this and this and this trip. What do I need? And they're like, go in there and they pop, 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 and I'm like, all right, I feel like freaking Hulk right now, a little gamma radiation in me or whatever.
I knew a buddy that went to Africa
Doesn't
and
bother me at all.
they literally it was like you were signing up for the army. They like sat you down on a seat and like you said, boom,
Yep,
boom, 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 boom,
yep,
boom. And that's the
yep.
bear, like
I didn't even
just to
I
get
didn't
in.
even realize I needed a booster from mumps and measles until I went to the the place. Like, oh yeah, you're overdue on that. I was like, I had that when I was a kid. I was like, does that last forever? Like, oh no. Like, I don't know these things. I'm not a doctor. I could barely do math.
That's what I say. And it's like the other thing is like I'm never the first person to jump on it because who knows if it spreads into a zombie apocalypse. So I like to like sit back from a safe distance for a minute and
Mm,
go, how are people reacting? As
yeah,
long as
yeah,
nobody turns into a monster or disappears, I'm like, all right, I guess
yeah,
I'll
yeah.
give it a shot.
For
And
me,
like,
as long as that has backing from like scientists and health professionals that I trust and that are reputable, I'm like, it's cool.
correct.
If some nut job on the internet's be like, oh, you should get this vaccine because it's going to stop X, Y, Z, I'm like, hell no, you're not touching me with that needle.
I
So it's all
contacted I
relative.
contacted doctors that weren't my current physicians, but were ones I've had in the past that I trust as much as family. I
Hmm.
reached out to them. I had some people I went to high school with that were actually some of them either in labs or were researchers on the front lines of the vaccine trials.
Hmm.
So I was like talking to like some really interestingly inside people about it and being like, "Hey, I'm a type 1 diabetic. Like what do you think?"
Yeah,
And they're like they all were like, "Hey man, as someone that cares about you and people who are educated on this, they're like this is at least is a no-brainer for
yeah,
you."
yeah. What type of tea you drinking, Jeff?
I'm doing Oriental Beauty.
Nice,
I'm doing this is the third time drinking it today.
nice.
So
Is it your is it one of your daily drinkers?
yeah, I try to not do it because it's really, really special. And if I drink it too often, a little bit of the magic wears off and I don't
Yeah,
enjoy it as much. So I have to like restrict
yeah.
myself to
Same
when I'm
same with
really
this one.
feeling it.
I don't even have this in my shop yet. I've been holding it. Yeah. So you
What,
want to tour the shop?
oh, yes, please. Please, please, please.
There we go. All
Hey.
right.
Oh,
World Tea
wow.
House. I'm gonna walk you outside.
Yep, I'm back. You're back.
Okay, good. Okay, so little patio area here that kind of goes for the whole kind of side. A little infographic
Oh,
here that I had done up by a local artist just to paint a window because I didn't want anyone looking in this one. It's a nice little farm to cup
I like that.
kind of infographic. So you walk on in, mask rules.
Of
And
course.
that's kind of like our main area here. So this is our gung fu bar, a little tea bar here. Got a bunch of little tea trays, all of our jars in the back, which are kind of mislit right now because we moved lighting around for this video cast. And then you kind of come in, go to the right. This is our like seating area here for table seats. And then we got all of our retail stuff here. And you kind of go in the corner with some teapots and teaware and all that stuff. Our sourcing map that shows all of our areas we get tea from.
Ooh.
And that's kind of behind the counter area peak there. That this thing on the back here is our like secret menu tray with all of our other stuff that we don't really carry by the 100-gram bag or whatever. And
Hmm.
then bathroom in the section here. So that's basically it. It's super small. It's we're talking 600 square feet. So small but mighty. That's our little
You,
pickup table there for people that want order pickups. So
you've
that's it.
utilized the space really well. And for a tea shop, I don't know, man. That's a not. I'm not saying like it's huge, but I'm saying it's fitting. Like, uh, I really like the. I really like how you have it set up. Like
Yeah,
legitimate. I like even where you have the retail set up and how it works into the seating area, and then
yeah.
back up
We
to this.
When I bought the place, it was originally a coffee cafe. So I mean, it's gone through quite a bit of renovations and stuff, but fundamentally, where that retail section was more seating. So they had basically like benches all up that back wall where I have all my retail and everything. So my screen's really big. I'm gonna put your screen on. There we go. I want to see your face, not mine. Um, so yeah, that's basically it. We need offsite storage. Uh, we have very little space. I'm not going to bring you into my little storage closet, but it's basically 6 by 8. So I can't even like lay down in it. It's so full. Um, it's ridiculous. So we have some offsite storage just to store stuff we get in by larger lots that we'll get in a couple
Oh,
times a year and just buy big volumes of it. But crazy, the
like
amount of
you,
tea we do out of here in such a small space.
like if you talk about like a large leaf, like a Taiwanese or a Japanese white tea, or
Yeah,
even like think about. I mean, people don't realize like even just 1 kilogram of like the Benefuki white or Cultivar
yeah.
21
Buy
white.
Mudan. It's like this big.
It's huge. It is. So 1 year, the year we got the most of the Japanese white tea, we got 6 kilograms. It was it had to be in two separate bags, two shipments, because it was too large to
Yeah.
send in
Oh,
one
hold on a sec.
shipment.
Oh, we're close. We're close. Yeah. Sorry about that. Sorry, I didn't lock my door before we came in. Customers coming in. Like, oh, you can't come in here. I don't even have a mask on, right?
um
Sorry about that. I'll go ahead.
no.
We can edit that out.
Oh no, you're fine. Dude, it's just so funny. Like a lot of like the storage space needed, like Taiwanese oolongs, no problem. Like
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
come so
Big
beautifully
balls of
vacuum sealed.
condensed leaves. Yeah. Or some, really packed in pu'er.
Oh,
Um, Another big thing for us is like, because we're tea blenders as well. So we have a lot of ingredients that we bring in, mint, jasmine flowers, rose petals, stuff like that. There's like huge volume, like not huge that we sell a lot, but huge that it physically take up a lot of space. And everything in here is used for kind of two reasons. We have like areas that we have set up for tables, but we flip them into like classroom kind of setups. We do tea classes in here during non-pandemic times, and we have an open mic in here sometimes. Do a little book reading, whatever the community wants to do in here. I'm always like, yeah, sure, come on in, use the space, because we like to be that kind of shop.
how far away are you think, from doing in-person events again?
I've done one tea class already as a private booking, so a bunch
Mm-hmm.
of
Mm-hmm.
came in and we checked vaccinations and all that stuff. I'm opening it to do them. People just aren't comfortable around our area doing them yet.
Yep.
I would say after Christmas, people would probably, as long as like our numbers don't skyrocket or we don't get a weird variant or something, it'll come back. I really like the educational side. I like talking at tea conferences and I like talking at our local library and stuff like that. I love doing it in areas that, I mean, if people say I'd never do something that you love for free, but I love doing the classes at the public library on people who just randomly walk in and you're talking about tea and you're like, oh, it all comes from the same plant. They're like, what? And I bring in my little tea plant cam, sit them on the counter, like, this is a tea plant. They're like, oh, how's that getting a tea bag? You know, that you
Oh,
know,
it's
then you engage that conversation, right? Which is super fun. I love it. I absolutely adore it.
that's an art. That's an art of gauging somebody's knowledge and interest in tea as to what to say back to them when they talk to you about tea.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's kind of like I don't like to use the word emotional intelligence or whatever like that, but it's very much on that EQ they call it scale. I come from a background of finance and brand marketing in hotels, so there was this whole thing back in the early 2000s where they were talking about, oh, EQs, you have to be emotionally in touch with your customers and know what they want before they want it. Never say no, blah 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 blah. And I'm like, cool. And I learned a lot about that, but also I took from it what I needed and basically threw all the rest out because it's very corporate, right? There's no
Very.
reason why Westons need to have a smell, which is actually called white tea. It does not smell at all like white tea. And I'm like, what is this scent? You call it like white tea or white tea tree or something like that. I'm like, it doesn't smell like that at all. It's a perfume. But they pump these scent into all of their lobbies so that when you walk into this brand of hotel, your sensory, like they play on all your senses. It looks like a Westin. It smells like a Westin. They talk like people from Westin. They ask you the same things when you check in and out. And I'm like, you're getting on like robotic kind of stuff. You're going from branding to robots, and there's a
So
line,
I worked for
a balance, I
Apple.
guess.
I worked for I worked for Apple, and
Yeah,
wow. So where do I even? You go to before you ever work in the store. I don't know if this is still the case, but back in the golden days of Apple, when you got hired for months, you went to like these little training camps where you had to do role playing exercises for like you'd stay at a hotel for a weekend and you would just do like exercises on how to talk to, how to troubleshoot. And I mean, you were told you had to talk to the customer for exactly 15 minutes before you even bring up a product. You have to, and they meant to make it so personalized sounding, but it still had a formula that I thought was very obvious. But
yeah,
I've worked the corporate thing, and you gotta, it's there for a reason, and it's got its place. But like, I could
yeah,
never run my business like that.
yeah, yeah. I mean, my story kind of come out of that. I was actually opened up my tea house because corporate wasn't working for me. And I had a really bad accident that gave me multiple impact traumas on my head, put me out of work for a good year. Brain injury, recovering your neural pathways kind of changes you a little bit. For me, I was unconscious
A,
for quite a long time
a
and
lot.
a lot. And so it kind of like made me like when I went back to work finally, I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to do something that's more fulfilling. By then I was already super into tea anyhow. And I'm like, no, I'm just going to do this. I had a part-time business, that's the web store and doing some farmers markets and stuff at this point. And I was like, I'm doing this for reals. And, everyone thought I was crazy. Like, are you passing up this good paying finance job in hotels that you could pretty much get staff rates anywhere you want to go? You date an airline stewardess and you got it made. Um, And I was like, no, I'm going to pass that up. I don't need that because places I want to go, I don't want to stay in a hotel. I want to stay on a tea farm. I want to stay in a little bungalow or a hut or, staff housing or whatever like that. Like I want that experience. I don't want to be in some, 5-star. Yeah, yeah, I do want to be in a 5-star. That's okay.
Step that
But I
back.
don't want my entire trip to be all 5 stars.
God, what a different. That's kind of. I felt that's how I. That's when I became an adult. Was when I made decision. That's when I went. Okay, these are types of things I don't want, and this is what I do want. And so I was applying that to my life over a course of years. But the pandemic, dude, the pandemic was such a beautiful awakening for
Yeah,
me
yeah,
to like, you know what? I'm never going back to that part-time
yeah,
shit. I'm not
100%.
gonna I'm not gonna work for somebody who doesn't respect me.
Yeah,
I'd rather bust my ass and find ways to make ends meet another way than to have somebody to go to a place where somebody is going to literally talk down to me from the
mhm,
time I get there. And
that's right.
it gave me a moment of clarity, and it also gave me just the propel to just keep going, do what you need to do to make sure you don't have to go back
Yeah.
to that.
For me, having like a street front business that is probably a lot of in and out traffic during the pandemic, that stopped like completely. We couldn't even have people in our shop sitting down for a while. We went through, I think, 3 lockdowns in the city, and it kind of made me realize that I don't what I thought the business had to be isn't what it needs to be. I can be open 5 days a week. I can be open shorter hours. I can have staff that are super engaged, a smaller crew, but a mighty crew. And I don't need all the things that I thought I needed. Starting out, you go into a business, I've been 11 years now, and you think you need to be open 7 days a week. You think you need to be blah, 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 blah. And the pandemic really taught me big, oh, wait a minute. No, people will come when I'm open. Um, I can have 2 days off in a row. I can spend time at home. I don't need to do all these things that I thought that I needed to do because other people did them. And I think other people were doing them because they thought they needed to do it because the people before them did it. And I think the pandemic broke that.
Yeah,
So
huge. Well, it's just,
rebooted, if you will.
and if you have the truth of the matter is if you have a quality product and you're presenting it correctly, the hours of operation are they're up to you, the business owner.
Check out this teapot.
Ooh,
Pick this up when I was in.
what type
It's
of
a
material is that?
Japanese clay. It's raw Japanese clay. I got it in Heradio's tea stall when I was in Kyoto. It's absolutely stunning.
I like the hold.
Not
I
even a
like
stamp on the bottom. Like the buddies sell like the little handles on the side.
Oh, I love Japanese.
Yeah,
Japanese clay is some of my favorite clay
precious.
because it works good with green tea. It works good with white tea. It works good with it just works good with everything.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Love it. I mean, I mostly just do hojichas in this one because it's a raw clay, and I want it roasty. So, and I
Do
love my old charcoal roasted hojicha.
how far do you go into dedicating your teapots? Do you have is that like a specific hojicha pot, or is that
Hmm.
more so a pot that you use for just roasted teas?
Yeah, that's my hojicha pot. I have like a
Oh,
raw clay pot, like a traditional kitsune. This guy is a little bigger, but he's my Japanese green tea pot. So I only do like senchas, banchas, gyukuros in this guy. I have a bunch of like Chinese Yixing pots that I'll do like I have a lapsang pot or a smoked teapot because I'll do some like African smoked teas and stuff in it as well. But yeah, more so at home, not necessarily in the shop. In here, we have weird health regulations that say we can't serve in porous material. So if I serve in a gaiwan, it's got to have like a glaze on it. It's got to be all these things. I like to serve in glass in the shop so people can actually see the whole like display of it. But yeah, so porous stuff in here is a no-go. For me personally, I can have as many as I want. I just tell them, oh, that's mine. That's not customers.
when it
I mean,
comes to the
if a customer wants to
clay,
come in, they can have it.
there's one place that I know that does serve their tea in clay cups. And at the beginning of the pandemic, I thought about that. I went, "Ooh, that's maybe not a great idea."
Yeah.
Like a
I mean,
teapot's another thing,
you could
but a
boil them.
cup,
Yeah.
but
I doubt
between
that they're
every
putting them in boiling
customer,
water. Yeah.
correct,
Yeah.
correct. So I sort of went, the back of my mind, I just went, huh, I wonder what they'll do.
Yeah.
Because like
Yeah.
I have actually, you know what's funny? I keep my teapots that are specific of clay. I keep them to just a general, like either it's green oolong or it's for roasted teas.
Yeah.
It's not super specific, but I have a couple handmade cups, clay cups that I have. Like one is a specific hey cha cup. Um, so I dedicate the cups, I guess, more than I dedicate the teapots.
Yeah. I mean, it's all our own enjoyment, right? I tend to be a little nerdy about it and stuff like that. So, uh, but I mean, honestly, most of the time, I don't brew in anything porous, especially
I
if I'm evaluating. And 90% of the teas that I'm drinking at the shop, I'm constantly evaluating them because are they going to make my shelf or not? Can I get enough of them to make to
Yep.
stock my shelf? All these factors. And so a lot of the time I'm drinking out of like porcelain or glass or ceramic, which is fine. Um, I'm not a big, even when it comes to drinking Japanese tea out of Japanese vessels, like I'll put a sencha in a gaiwan. I don't care.
Yeah.
Um,
I,
it's
I,
not.
I love some of the new tea folks when they're like, okay, so I just got into Gong Fu. I need to find a good Yixing pot. I'm like, I'm
Why?
like, yeah, I'll be like, why? Like, well, because they're really nice, and because all these like really serious tea people, I see them brewing with them, and I'm
Mm,
like, oh, well, what kind of like what kind of teas are you into? And they'll like talk about teas that are absolutely the last ones you would brew in Yixing,
mm,
and you're just like, I would start with some porcelain.
yeah,
Like you said, it's like and the reason I tell them is because it's neutral, because it'll, let's say that neutral isn't the way that you want to stay with brewing, then at least by
yeah,
doing the neutral, you'll learn that clay is a preference of yours.
yeah. Or even like the size of the vessel that's your preference. Like I tend to go like bigger bowls because I have big hands. Like these small little tiny gaiwans, I find them very clumsy in my hands. I've got like stupid sized mitts, and so you know, a lot of my staff like the smaller style of gaiwan, and they'll pack it full of oolongs, and it'll almost be popping the lid off by the time they're done. And I'm like, cool. I tend to go lighter on my leaf. That's just my style of brewing, right? But yeah, I'm also forgetful, so lighter leaf. If I forget it for a minute or two, it's not going to be like a full packed gaiwan that I forget for 2 minutes, and it's going to be like, oh, there's that punch in the face I was talking about.
Yep. You know what I
I'll
do
still drink it.
sometimes? You know what I'll do if it's just slightly too tannic, but I still want to drink it? I'll add some hot water
Yeah,
to it
yeah, yeah.
just to break it up a little
Or
bit.
or like mix it in with the previous brew so that it's like all not super bad.
Yeah, so then you're like, oh, okay, I made it okay.
Yeah,
It was a crisis averted.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
So
brewing tea is very personal, so I'm like, you can put as much formulation and stuff into it as you want. End of the day, it's just dry leaves and water.
uh, outside of the local people that that know you, have you seen any tea folk since the
Mhm.
pandemic?
Nope,
Mm-mm.
not nope, not
Not
even.
a
We were supposed to go to a trip to Montreal to go see Kevin from Camellia Sinensis and a bunch of other like tea people in September, but we're running into a staff shortage as well. I only had two staff at that point at the shop, and they're like,
wow.
"Please don't leave us." And they were new; they were only on for like a couple
Oh,
months at that point, and
you can't.
they're like, we don't know if we can do that. And I'm like, okay, cool. If you're not comfortable, then I'm not gonna go away and like basically be like, here's the shop. Don't break it. I'll be back in 9 days. I
Yeah,
can't do that. I can't do that to my customers. I'm definitely not doing that to my staff. They're my lifeblood. They're like family, right? So
No, that's a tough one. Like, you really, no matter how much you want to go, like if somebody's like literally gives you that, please, like, I'm not comfortable with doing this on my own. Like,
Yep.
it you just can't. You
No.
have to
Yeah.
lend a
And
hand.
it was not a trip that I needed to go on. Right. It was a trip I wanted to. I wanted to see people. My partner's family is in Ontario as well, so she's got an elderly grandma that we want to see, and all these things. And we couldn't do that for a year and a half. We couldn't even travel out of our own province, really. You could, but you needed to
Yeah,
quarantine when you came back and running a business. So I was like, I can't take 2 weeks off to sit at home to make sure I don't have the COVID. Um, so I just didn't. I haven't left my province in almost 2 years. Drive me crazy.
jeez. Yeah, that's in
I'll
the
go batty here.
the U.S. I've been very, especially being in upstate New York, where we're really spaced out from our neighbors up here.
Yeah.
Like, it got it to a relatively normal space pretty quick for
Yeah.
us. Like, I mean, there was really only maybe a 2 month period where I really didn't see anyone. It was very,
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
selective
Well, I've
going
I've
into
always
it.
seen people because I've never closed my shop. Yeah. Yeah. Even when my shop was closed for people coming in, I was still doing home deliveries 5 days a week. I was driving my tea around sometimes 3, 4 hours a day to get it to people. Put little
Dressed
animal
up as
heads
a
on and
dinosaur, I was gonna
you dress up,
say.
just making it fun, right? Oh, I scared some kids. I had to like, I had to like make sure that the parents knew I was coming with a dinosaur or a unicorn or a bunny or whatever head I had on that day. I was like, okay, just because I scared the crap out of a couple kids, and yeah, I can't do that.
that that was one of those first like lighthearted things I started seeing on social media when everybody was grim about their lockdowns.
Yeah.
I was just cracking up seeing you in these like dinosaur hats, just like walking up to the door like with your dinosaur arms, and just, I'm telling you, I got such a good laugh out of that.
Yeah.
It was just exactly what the doctor ordered. Like, it was the content that was absolutely needed at the time.
Just be ridiculous about it because what can you do? May as well
That's all.
you may as well put a smile on someone's face when you're doing it because I mean, yeah, it's cool that people are delivering to your house and stuff like that, but it's very stressful, right? People are always like stressed out. People coming to their doors, and I don't even like delivery drivers delivering stuff. I mean, in here I get it all the time, but at my house, if someone knocks on my door, I'm like, oh, I never have anyone coming over. Like this is my private space. Who's knocking on my door? My dogs don't even bark when people knock on the door because it happens so rarely.
Oh, see, my dogs bark because
Weird.
it's rare. So
Yeah.
either it's my mail lady who's got a package for me, who's always doesn't want to leave my stuff out, who I love to death,
Yeah.
or it's somebody who doesn't come over
Which
regularly.
is really awesome to have that.
Oh, dude, you have no idea. There is some horrible stuff going
Yeah.
on with mail people. So not only the mail delivery system, but mail people not delivering packages. Uh, oh, horrible stuff, man. I'm
Mhm.
so lucky to have a mail. She's a nice older lady, and she knows I'm a business. She knows that if I have a box, I need to receive it. So if she knocks and I don't come to the door, she'll go around to do
Mhm.
more of her route, and she'll come back around to my place because she doesn't want to leave stuff out. So she's an all-star.
Yeah. Awesome. So good. So good.
Well,
Um,
good sir. The clock just struck, so we have run out of time. I
oh,
very I very much appreciate being able to sit down with you.
yeah.
Um, Again, it sucks we can't be in person, but it's so nice to have things like this where we can still sit down and share our thoughts and just sort of tea geek out for a little bit with other
Yeah.
tea folk.
And you'll get
Um,
here. One
oh
day it'll be the other side of the bar and we'll drink tea all day and
no,
it'll be fun.
I don't think it's super far away either. I don't. It's just like you said, don't rush anything. Play it
Yeah.
safe. Watch what's
Yeah.
going on. Act appropriately.
Yeah. Read the room.
Yeah, precisely. So thank you a ton. How do you, if somebody wants to learn more, what's the best ways to get a hold of you?
Yeah. I mean, social media, we're pretty active on Instagram and Facebook and a little bit on Twitter, but less so. It's a little bit of a, I prefer Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
That's probably
I
the best way. I mean, you can always email me. My website, worldteahouse.ca, has all of our catalog and all of our stuff on it. I don't do too much updating and stuff on that platform because I'm not super comfortable with web development. So I have a person for that.
It's
Um,
okay.
but yeah, there's an email on the bottom there. You can just contact me if you want to just, yeah. But messaging through Instagram and Facebook is probably the easiest.
Yeah, that's what I
That's
tell
how we
people
talk
too. And
mostly.
I'll put up
Yeah,
your like your tags and all that stuff so people can even easier find you. Um, but yeah, cheers to
cool.
you. I continue to wish you good health and
Cheers.
happiness, and hopefully we'll see each other in the near future, Phil.
New year, yeah.